We've got the Bernie Kosar Show, Victory Monday. Let's go. We got another one with us. We are joined by the legend himself, Bernie Kosar, alongside the top dog, Hanford Dixon. Welcome in.
Hey, it's good to be here on a Victory Monday. It wasn't as aesthetically pleasing from an offensive perspective there, top dog, as us offensive quarterbacks would like to have had. But I think of our late, great coach, Marty Schottenheimer, and what he used to say when you got to December. All that matters in December, it doesn't matter what it looks like, just somehow, some way, get that W. Again, wasn't pretty yesterday. Top dog, we got a W.
It wasn't pretty at all. Did I hear you say offense? 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 Did I see any offense at all yesterday?
Yes, you said it. We saw both teams set offense back multiple decades yesterday. And from wanting to be Victory Monday and looking at this from the positive perspective of it, it sets up a magnitude for the Battle of Ohio, a must-win for us this upcoming Sunday.
Well, one thing I agree with you about, boy, we got to win. It does not matter how we got it or how we came upon it. We got to win, and that's the most important thing. And I'll tell you what, man, this team showed up. I'm talking about special teams and talking about the defense because that's where the points pretty much came for. If we'd have been waiting on them to come from the offense, we'd still be waiting. But I can't wait to hear you, and I know we're going to get into it a little bit later, but your take on Deshaun and that performance and where he is
absolutely.
right now.
We'll be talking about Deshaun. And to start out today, though, just like you're saying, to be sitting here on Victory Monday and to think that it would have been for what we've been talking about all season, to see such a dominant performance by our defense yesterday, and then such a winning performance, game-changing big plays on the Big Play Network here. Big plays from our special teams yesterday. Donovan Peoples-Jones making massive strides yesterday.
And we're going to talk about Tony Fields. I mean, where the hell did he come from?
I'll tell you where he came from.
I knew you wanted to say that.
Tony Fields, man, for all the people that have no life, and you go back to the NFL draft being here in Cleveland, Ohio. That was awesome. In the 5th round, I had the honor of being able to make that selection here in Cleveland during that draft. But for him yesterday, to force a fumble where Denzel brings it back for a touchdown, and then for him to make an interception and run it back for 6, what a great way to make his introduction into this.
I tell you what, though, he took a hit in the chest. I mean, I'm so glad to see him come through with the plays that he came through because he deserved it. All right, Gab, what you got?
All right, let's get right into our opening drive. I know there's so much to talk about. I think it's pretty obvious now that we've seen Deshaun out there, first time in quite a while. I think we saw a little rusty performance. So let's get your initial reactions on Deshaun. We know that he was 12 for 22, 131 yards. Obviously, no touchdowns, had that interception. What do you think?
Well, I got a little sidetracked how stylish you look in that 19 jersey there. I see with the holiday season's coming in, I don't want to make a big promotion here, but I've been getting a lot of talk about the jerseys and stuff. Am I asking about this jersey?
Right,
People actually want to know where they can go get the number 19 here pointing at you, huh? Gonna have to get that at the Big Play Network or at
Well, you didn't see
Kosar19.com, all right, for your holiday needs. Huh? Look at that young guy up there, huh?
So dapper.
Oh, man, that's funny. You
know what? He had to pay me to wear this shirt. I'm doing it out of the goodness of my heart.
It looks better on you.
I know. We got to get you a 2.9 too.
Yes, sir.
And we can make a little levity about that. And it's awesome to be making a little levity to the Deshaun Watson question on a Victory Monday when you end up having a game like that where you're 12 for 22, 131 yards, 7 rushes, 21 yards, 1 interception. To have a game like that, to not play, to be rusty like that, but still to end up with that W is very fortunate today, very refreshing, and probably pretty expected. I mean, the footwork there was very telling, and it almost brought back flashback memories for me of the challenge of playing quarterback in this game. You know, there was 700 days in between his games this past Sunday, and to see the rustiness, to see the footwork not correlating with his arm and the throwing. it's lucky. We're lucky to get a W with that type of
Yeah,
offensive performance.
I was going to say, a lot of people were talking about the underthrows. How does the footwork play into that, and how is that connected from your standpoint?
Yeah, the underthrows, the short throws, being off balance. I mean, we talked about it in the show last week that, yes, Deshaun's athleticism is so special, but the ability to have the RPOs, it was just almost expected that we were going to throw lots of RPOs. But the ability to make your reads, to make your understanding, to mentally understand what you're doing, and then to have your body physically to be able to do it, to have your footwork under you, to have that presence in the pocket, easier said than done. We could practice all you want, but top dog, you know, from a defensive back perspective, it's one thing. From a quarterback perspective, it's absolutely another. There's no simulation to the game unless it's the game. You can't practice the threat of getting hit, the threat of getting killed by a defensive line. They're not doing that in practice. They are doing it in the game. And we saw yesterday with Deshaun, there's no simulation to that live game contact, that live game timing, and the timing wasn't there. His footwork was off. So in turn, when your footwork's off and you're rushing yourself, and bluntly, your body, your core, your ass isn't underneath you, and you're out of mechanical steps. I wasn't as athletic as Deshaun, so I kind of practiced at being in uncomfortable, awkward positions. Again, I don't think Deshaun has been in that many spots, and he hasn't been in it in almost 2 years.
Right.
And it showed yesterday.
Right. There's no doubt about it, and I think I think if he would be honest with himself, I think he would be the first one to say that he's surprised, or he was surprised of how rusty he really was. Because when you look at it, just like we talk about a lot of those throws, I mean, they were just practically in the dirt coming off some of those RPOs. And I think he was really excited when he had an opportunity to run to gain some yards, because that took a lot of pressure off of him. One particular play, I know he was just shocked. You remember when we were down, we were going to score, and I think the safety, I think it was Pierce, I want to say his name was Pierce, the safety, or maybe I don't have the name right. But anyway, what he did was he baited Deshaun into throwing that ball across the middle in the near the end zone, and the safety act like he was going with the receiver coming across his face, and then he faked like he was going, and then he
came off him.
Came off of him right and intercepted the ball. So I think
and we talked about this last week, is the Houston Texans were the number one team in the league at doing 2 deep, 5 under coverage, especially in the red zone and stuff. So we had talked about that. That's not a coverage that's conducive to stopping the run. So us being a fantastic running team, Houston being a poor rush defense, that they were going to alter that play and probably get away from the 2 split safeties, which is hard to stop the run, and then bring the one safety into the middle and bring the other safety down.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they were doing there. And that was actually a play action pass by the Browns. So Deshaun had to turn his back to the line of scrimmage, anticipating a 2 deep split safety. And when he's doing a good play action fake, he turns his back like I'm turning to the camera, loses sight of the deep safety here, and then doesn't pick him up when he turns his head back around.
And we have to face it, though. Houston is a bad football team. I mean, they're not a good football team at all. I mean, I thought, and this, what is Kyle Allen? Is that his name?
Kyle Allen struggled yesterday.
I mean, he was just absolute. I mean, the throw.
20 for 39, 201 yards.
Wasn't even close.
He was sailing balls. He had some good 16-yard intermediate square, and fortunately for us, overthrowing the ball yesterday. And I wish that we had the angry Ken meter, because we've talked somewhat of our play calling and some of the coaching decisions yesterday. Boy, offensively yesterday, some of the play calling, the 4th and 1 pass by the Houston Texans played right.
Crazy?
Fantastic goal line stand by our defense. So let's not take away from them stopping them, but play calling for the Browns' run defense to be challenged like it's been all season, for Houston to be a running team, and then for a Tom Brady to do a play-action pass against us last week that worked. You know, a pro defense will practice that. They will not let the same play tend to beat them back-to-back weeks. So for Houston to run the same play to the other side of the field that Tom Brady ran against us, you know that Joe Woods was going to practice against that, anticipate that, and then to do that was really a nice
And I'll
gift.
say this about their football team, and you talking about, obviously we know they can run the ball, they got a good running back, and they had it like first and goal. Instead of them trying to run the football, you're exactly right. They came out with the first 2 passes, and then they're going to come out and try to run the ball. Man, have you guys lost it, man? I'm sitting there watching the game, and I could play offensive coordinator and get this done and get them in the end zone.
Yeah, I thought they were trying to solidify that number 1 pick in the draft.
Hanford, you mentioned it last week on the show. This was the perfect opponent for Deshaun Watson to get his feet wet in the NFL once again. You called it.
Yeah.
Because you're right, that team was bad.
Oh, it's a bad football team, and they have a bad defense. And obviously we needed this game to get his feet underneath him and get him headed in the right direction. But thank goodness and thank God for the special teams. Thank goodness for the defense.
And thank God, too, it's December. I mean, to get an NFL victory in December, for Deshaun not to have played in 700 days, he's disappointed. The offense is probably disappointed. But again, it's to the Jimmy Johnson statement, somehow, some way,
get it done.
To get a W. To Marty Schottenheimer, all that matters is a W. They got this game out of our system. He got the experience, almost like it is a preseason game for him to get some of his
and Bernie, kind of
pocket presence.
Talking about that, like, so Browns fans in general, if you kind of read the room, everyone thought that Deshaun was going to have rust. I think it was worse than people thought with some of Hanford. You're talking about some of those throws in the dirt.
Yeah.
I mean, we're watching this game. We're like, we got some trouble here. And this is a must-win game now for against the Bengals. I know we've had their number, but we have to win this game. Is there any thought like, okay, Deshaun is way rustier than we thought. It's preseason. He hasn't played in over 700 games. Do we need to maybe look at, if he struggles in the beginning of this game, putting Jacoby in?
Well, I actually loved Deshaun's statement about how he said, my body feels like it hasn't played in 700 days. So, I want to give him my non-narcotic spray relief, okay, to get him healthy and stuff.
Well,
okay, stay away from the pain medication, okay. I know how to get away from that now and get yourself healthy after all those hits and stuff. But some people were talking to me about that, should Jacoby be ready to go? Should we be questioning Deshaun? And Deshaun is the quarterback short term and for sure of the long term. And he hasn't played in 700 days. That really should be expected, a performance more towards what happened Sunday than being a perfect quarterback like in Disney World we would have expected and stuff. I love how Jacoby's been playing, but not just the financial commitment that's been made, the upside of Deshaun Watson and what the commitment is to the team. You don't want to start with those type of thoughts.
And I agree. I say absolutely not. I mean, Deshaun is the quarterback. He's our quarterback right now going forward. I mean, obviously we paid this guy a lot of money, guaranteed a lot of money to him, and we're thankful for what Jacoby did for this football team. But no. When you look at it, when you're talking about talent, I mean, Deshaun, and I'm not saying, I want to say this in the right way. No attack on Jacoby. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but you're talking about Deshaun Watson here. He is the guy, and we have to keep him in there. We have to keep him going, because I'm telling you, you guys have to understand, once he get going, you're going to see a totally difference in that arm and his feet, the way he could do it with his feet. So to answer your question, no thought in the back of my mind, your mind. I don't think the coach's mind. If anything happens, unless Deshaun get hurt or something, he can't go, then we'll bring him in. But other than that, no.
I mean, last week we had a 4.8% chance of making it to the playoffs. We we won yesterday. Those chances increased a little bit. Unfortunately, the whole AFC North won yesterday and stuff. But realistically, statistically, it doesn't look great for the playoffs. I'm still one of those guys. I want to look positively. I want to look at us, and as players and coaches and organization, we absolutely need to be thinking about this one game at a time, but also winning every game at a time and winning out right now. But that being said, it's imperative that you really understand and believe that you can win right now.
Well, you know, it's funny. You talked about that AFC North. Coming up this week, somebody's got to lose. I mean, somebody's got to lose because, you know, you got the Ravens playing, going to the Steelers. And, of course, we're going to Cincinnati. So all we need to do is win. If we win, and obviously looking at the Ravens and the Steelers, then our chances should go up a little bit. But we just can't lose. We got to keep winning.
Hanford, do you think the defensive performance that we saw against the Texans, do you think that is the chemistry improving, or is it just solely that was a bad team? And can they build on that going into Cincy?
I think they can build on it. That was a bad team, but you could just see them running around, flying around, making tackles, everybody coming to the ball. You know what's really, really unfortunate? That we lost Taki. Yeah. I mean, because Taki, obviously, we need him in the middle of that defense. He's a quarterback of that defense, playing the Mike position. And now, you know, did we hear anything?
We're going to hear for the MRI today, but it looks like he could be lost for the season.
Boy, that could be a big blow. That could be a big blow.
Yeah, that's absolutely a big blow with some of the other injuries. The Anthony Walker on top of that we've talked about each week with that. Hey, but Dave, to your question, heck yes, you could build on it. And I actually love where we're at, to Hanford's point, whether it's Baltimore and Pittsburgh playing this week, us and Cincy with the Battle of Ohio going on in December, end of the year, divisional opponents, teams you know, but even more importantly, the second time we've played this team. So we played Cincinnati earlier in the year on Monday Night Football. This is when the chess match of football really starts, the X's and O's. Yeah, we call it analytics on some things, but it's really game planning right now. And we talked after the first game about another awesome win by the Browns. The Browns have had Joe Burrow's number. We've had 4 wins against them. Joe Burrow, for his issues against the Cleveland Browns, is the antithesis against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bengals have beaten the Chiefs 3 times in 2022, and the last 4 times against the Browns they've lost. But so much of the X's and O's and what happened in that first game. And Joe Burrow on 3rd and 1 to 4, which they had 3 to 5 times in that first game, the Cleveland Browns did a really nice job. Joe Woods, a lot of flack he's been taking, but he had a really good call of doing a lot of 2D 500 man on the Bengals in the first game, and it really got them and got some good change of possessions for us. You really want to run the ball against that type of defense. It would be interesting to see the chess match of do the Bengals stay with that type of offensive philosophy? Does Joe Woods change up? There's going to be a lot of give and take, and watching that early will be really imperative to how the game materializes.
You know what? I can't wait. I can't wait for the matchups. But let me tell you why. Now, when I'm talking about the matchups, I'm really talking about the matchups, their wide receivers against our defensive backs. Because when you look at our when you look at our defensive backs right now, our corners, you see guys playing with a lot of confidence. For instance, you see Emerson out there. He's not only just shutting down pretty much the wide receivers, but he's doing it. He's talking.
You wanted Mike
smack.
Evans 2 weeks ago? Well, he played another game yesterday.
Newsome, did you watch him yesterday? Every single time he made a play,
Denzel Ward,
he's got his fingers up in the air. No, not on my watch, not on this side. Denzel playing well on that side. So we got 3 guys right now that are playing at the top of their game, but they're going to have to, because when you look at the other side over there, they just got Chase back.
Boyd, Higgins.
They got Higgins. So, and plus they got Burrows at quarterback, who is throwing that thing. Now the Bengals, you can say what you want to say, they still can run the football too. Now with those guys, with their running attack coming and their passing attack coming out of the backfield, it's going to be a chess match. just like you talked about. And I can't wait to get a front row seat and watch this
a
thing.
chess match, and I believe a physical chess match too, because the last game was we out-physicaled them at the line of scrimmage. They tried to throw the ball excessively, and when you have those three wide receivers and Joe Burrow, you can't be faulted for probably overthrowing it and stuff. But they lost the game. They got a lot of flack for it. And then the next week after that Monday night game, they came out and ran the ball excessively the following week. So I really think from a Browns perspective, if I'm trying to be Nostradamus and check the future and see what the Sunday game plan is going to be, I'm really going to be having my antennas up for a little more run game in that 3rd and 2 to 4 range, because last time they overthrew it and weren't successful with that.
Bernie, you have to like Burrows. Let me tell you why.
Unfortunately, I love
Do you
his
guys
plays.
see him, the confidence that he showed you at his press conference? He's saying right now with their football team, it's December. And their football team, he said they play their best in November and December. And they're ready to go. They don't care who they're playing. And, boy, they're coming off a high, too, because you know it. Anytime you play the Kansas City Chiefs and you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're ready. But I know Gab.
Hey, Joe,
I know Gab is all mad at me because I'm jumping all over her.
Yeah. Hey, but I gotta say though, on the Joe Burrow confidence, though, the Joe Burrow confidence.
I just get goosebumps talking about this game, Gab. I'm sorry.
Hey, this is your show. This is your show. I'm just taking it back. So let's go where you want to go with it. And actually, I mean, Hanford,
Because-
we could put you on the spot.
Because you know what, Gab?
Yeah.
I want to get down. I got a few plays in me this week. I want to bump and run right now. I got
He's
a few
standing.
plays in me.
He's standing up. He's got his right foot back. Okay. Are you taking the snap? Are you taking? That's mine. That's my bad mechanics.
Well, I couldn't get the chair out the way, so that's what happened. That's why I had the right foot back.
Well, let's talk about
See,
it.
my
then.
footwork is off like Deshaun's too. We both need to work on that right now.
Since we got, we're looking at Chase, and obviously they looked really good against the Chiefs. Just snuck out a win against them last night. What can we do to shut him down, Hanford? If you're all jazzed up about defense,
You know what? And I'll say this, Gab, Bernie, you guys. I was surprised at how well he played last night. Chase coming back because
97 yards.
Yeah,
His 7
I was-
catches, 97 yards. He hasn't played in
because
a month and a half.
Wasn't it a hip injury?
Yeah, hip.
And hips are. I mean, that's a tough injury to come back off. And I was
To have
surprised.
his fluidness, to have his get up, to have his quickness, and still have that physicalness about him. That was awesome from an individual standpoint to watch, but from a Browns perspective, you don't want to see that that awesome a talent coming in there.
And to answer your question, Chase is a guy. We have our guys. We have Emerson. We have Newsome. We have guys that want the challenge. But Chase is a guy that says, "Bring the challenge. You guys think you can cover me? You come on. I'm ready to go." So, and I'm telling you, Burrows and all those guys, they're going to look just like you said. They're going to look and see how we defended them last time we played them.
Yeah. So you talk about those goosebumps. I got them driving through my couple Kosar shirts right now, man, because I love those three receivers and Joe Burrow, like we keep talking about for the Bengals. But I got to say, and not trying to be a homer, but Denzel Ward has done the best against Chase as anybody in his career. He had the 99-yard pickoff last year to set the tempo against it. Yesterday, he almost undercut and made another interception on it. Chase hasn't had his good games against the Browns, and Denzel's had his number. I love how you talk about Emerson and his confidence and how it keeps budding and stuff. Greg Newsome had a couple nice plays yesterday. I mean, these are the type of games where, as players, you really got to embrace and live for. Yeah. And I actually think from the standpoint of what happened yesterday and what's been happening, that this has a chance to galvanize us, because this is a make or break game. And I feel bad saying that, because the great Marty Schottenheimer used to always say, it's not a must win unless you're mathematically eliminated. And we're not mathematically eliminated with a loss on this Sunday. But realistically, if the Bengals go to 9-4 and we go to 5-8, That's going to put probably a dagger in our playoff lives.
Well, and the good thing about it, we can control pretty much kind of control everything because we play all 3 teams in our division. Again, talking about Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and obviously we played Cincinnati this week.
It's a tall order. It looks like an uphill climb. Last week was a 4.8% stat to basically win out right now. I don't want to live in the past, but I go back to pull out my Super Bowl ring to 1993, where as Cowboys, we had to win out from Thanksgiving on through the Super Bowl. It seemed impossible. It seems impossible now. It starts this week, though. This is almost a Super Bowl type playoff game for our Browns this week.
Hanford, if there was put your cleats on for a second here. If you have to guard one of those Bengals wide receivers, which one are you picking?
Big dog.
Chase, Higgins, Boyd.
Big dog. I got to take the top dog over there.
Top dog,
I want Chase. I want the top dog while I'm sitting over here on the Bernie Kosar show with Hanford Dixon with the Diet Dr. Pepper with my nice mug right here. Thanks to Hanford Dixon.
Yeah, let's get our Christmas.
You see that look she gave me when I say thanks to Gab over there?
Hey, so the give out the mugs. We're going to be donating some of our stuff to charity at Kosar19.com and the Big Play merchandise stuff. But, hey, to the Dr. Pepper as an aside that probably doesn't fit to the podcast, somebody won $100,000 this weekend throwing footballs at one of the bowl games. And Dr. Pepper sponsored it. There was a little ruckus going on because I guess the girls tied, and they had something where they said they gave it to one girl because they didn't have time to do a overtime throw-offs to see who really won the $100,000. So
wow.
Dr. Pepper got a little flack, so they said, hey,
we
better give both girls this, so they were doing that.
I love it.
But it reminded me, because about 10 years ago, I did at the Orange Bowl. They had a $1 million throw, and on a Saturday night game at the Orange Bowl. And they had me coach up the guy who's going to throw to have
before the throw. Yeah.
So for a day, I went to throw with him. And God bless the dog. I love him, and if you're listening, I love you, but you couldn't throw a lick. Okay, so to have coached him up for a day, and then to see him come up and win win the million was kind of cool. And him and his wife were going crazy. Oh, I love you, I love him. And she's like, and the wife is all excited, and she goes like, man, I can't wait to divorce him now. And she did.
Oh man, you guys were talking about goosebumps for this game. Let's bring it on back.
Yeah, Bernie, circle us back in there. Bernie, all right,
take us back to the '80s because that was a different time for the AFC. For the younger listeners out there who only know the AFC North as it stands right now, what was the division like back in the '80s? You had the Bengals going to 2 Super Bowls. You had whooping the Steelers' butt. What was it like back then?
Well, let me just say that the Bengals only went to 1 Super Bowl when I was playing, and that was the year I was hurt.
He was hurt, that's right.
It was the Battle of I love the Battle of Ohio. I mean, it was the AFC Central then, but basically it's the AFC North as today.
Because
Steelers,
Houston was in.
Yeah, and Houston was a massively physical, tough team, almost like the Baltimore Ravens. So it's very similar in terms of the toughness of today. Just like it was 35 years ago. I really loved it. Being a boy growing up in Ohio, the Battle of Ohio. I used to watch, really show my age, the Brian Sipe, Kenny Anderson and stuff. So for me to go against the great Boomer Esiason, and not to talk smack, but for us to have come out on the top end of that, more so than that, and to really be able to beat them a lot and play games against them. And one of the things, when we played a couple of really big games against them, like we had a win in 86, 87. We had to go down there, and if we won the game, we win the division.
Yeah.
And you go there, and on special games, there's certain things you want to do to make a point, whether you're a young quarterback or even like Deshaun. Not that he's a young quarterback, but it's his second game coming back. You want to make statements early in these big games. I wanted to make statements early in these big games, and to let not only to people said you wanted to make stuff early to show the opposing team to show the fans, to quiet them down. No, actually, I wanted to make statements earlier to show my teammates, to show my players, I'm here, that I'm ready for today. The stage isn't too big for me, and that this is our day. And I like to see that type of attitude from Deshaun and our veteran guys coming out this week, that kind of attitude of taking it to them early in this game.
Yeah, because I remember, boy, you take me way back there with that AFC Central. Obviously, the Bengals were a big part of that, and I remember we played a Boomer size, and I'm going to call some names out: James Brooks, Icky Woods, Eddie Brown,
Downtown Eddie Brown from the U.
Chris Collinsworth, who is
God, he's
very good friend of mine right now.
We love him. We love
I mean,
Collinsworth.
it was just classic, and you know it. We had classic battles against those guys, and that's what it kind of feels like this week. It kind of feels like, you know, because those games, like you said, when we played them, the game was really important because it was who was going to take the division.
That was actually one of my games where if we could pull some of those old highlights out, started the first play of the game,
Hey,
hitting
Gab's
Webster on
sleeping
a
over there,
bomb
man.
and stuff.
You know, we got to
you
wake
wanna
her
throw
up
some
over
bombs.
there.
I'm trying to not get copyright infringement.
Okay.
I'll look into it.
Okay.
You help protect us from ourselves.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, okay?
I don't know. If we got busted, I'd have to sell a lot of Bernie merch and hand it
Oh,
over to make up for it.
yeah. Well, don't show us. We don't want to see it.
Hanford, were there any particular wide receivers back in the day against the Bengals that you just didn't like going up against, or someone you just knew you were going to dominate?
Well, I'm not going to say I knew.
Hey, before
you
you answer, let me just say, not saying because top dog's here.
Yeah.
You're phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I don't like to give the Bengals sometimes credit.
Yeah.
They were a damn good offense
they were
back
good
then
offense.
too. They were
telling you.
loaded too. They had weapons like today.
That's why that's why I wasn't gonna say I knew I was gonna dominate them, but we
'cause they were
knew
good.
we knew that we had to be at the top of our game against those guys. Because I'm telling you, Boomer was throwing darts. And those guys, Eddie Brown was fast. I mean, he was fast. Chris Collinsworth, not very fast, but crafty
with the
ran
routes.
his routes were just right on. You think when you look at Cooper could run some routes. I'm telling you, Chris Collinsworth could run some routes.
Hey, and you know what's interesting about those 80s games and stuff? The Cincinnati Bengals offense in the 80s was almost similar to the Cleveland Browns offense of 2022.
Yeah.
Awesome running the ball. Boomer with the play action fakes. The offensive line going downfield on the play action passes. Good ball fakes. Receivers running 2-man and 3-man routes with 7 and 8 men protecting and stuff. Very similar to, and we talk about how the game's changed, but really the 1986, 87, 88 Cincinnati Bengals offense was eerily similar to the 2022 Cleveland Browns offense in terms of the philosophical belief of how to run the ball, play action pass, bootlegs.
So let's get into this game. You guys have already had the goosebumps going, but there have been so many times against the Bengals and Browns as of late that it's been a shootout. You talked about those Bengals wide receivers. We talked about the rust of Deshaun Watson. Bernie, if we get into a situation where we need a shootout, do you think Deshaun will be ready for that?
Okay, that's going to be a tough one right now. That's really going to be a tough one. And the points thing right now is really going to be an issue because we saw that we were really rusty. We saw that Cincinnati's getting better.
Can he get it out the dirt?
Well,
that was just a joke.
No, but I mean, that is something that's going through your head right now as a quarterback.
It's his feet.
It's his feet.
Yeah.
It's his feet, but also it's the mental side of it. And when you're able to, when you're having to make 10 decisions in 1.7 to 2.2 seconds. I'm sitting here today without nobody running me over and no threat of getting killed. I could do that calmly. But when you're out there during the game and you haven't done it in those 700 days, those people coming after you and you're making those 10 decisions in 1.7 to 2.2 seconds on a 3-step drop, inherently they don't mesh up and you don't have your rhythm together with it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I needed bluntly more than one preseason game. I needed more than one kind of big game to get my timing there. From watching Deshaun this past Sunday, I wish I wasn't saying this, but it looks like he needs more game time to get up to the level of speed that he wants of himself, that we will see from himself. Over time, we will see, I believe, an awesome, great Deshaun Watson. I want to see it, though, on December 11th at 1 o'clock. That may be asking a lot. So that being said, offensively, I think we're going to want to really scheme the game from the running physical side of it. Unfortunately, their defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, I always struggle with that name there, but unfortunately, he's doing a
good job.
He's doing a great job. The Bengals, they don't miss tackles.
Yeah.
They're good at tackling. They're real sound. They're athletic right now. So really, he was only rushing 3 people at times against Patrick Mahomes this past Sunday. So really seeing how he wants to go after Deshaun, but really, if the footwork is struggling, he doesn't feel comfortable with it, that rushing 3 that the Bengals did against Patrick Mahomes could be an issue in the game.
Well, and also too, you have to look at this, and you talk about just rushing 3, and that's saying a lot when you have a lot of confidence, a lot of guys. They came up with the big sack on him in the game, Kansas City game, and that when they were only rushing 3 guys.
So here's
what's the 3rd down or 4th down? I think it was.
So they're doing
they
did it on 3rd and
yeah.
4th. But what I really and to that defense, they're rushing 3. They're looking like they're rushing 4, but they're rushing 3. They're spying that 4th guy on the QB. They spied him yesterday on Patrick Mahomes. They absolutely, I believe, will spy the guy on Deshaun Watson because one of the things when you're struggling with your throw, and I didn't have this luxury because I sucked at running. I was so slow and stuff. But Deshaun has wheels. He ran 7 times for 21 yards Sunday. And he started running more in the second half when the reality happened
that I'm
not throwing the ball good. So I actually think through the course of this week, when push comes to shove, he's going to resort to his legs, resort to his wheels sooner than he did last week. The Bengals, again, unfortunately, their D coordinator, Lou, is a smart guy. He's probably going to anticipate that. He had great success against the great Patrick Mahomes. I look for some of that 3 guys rushing with the 4th guy spying Deshaun and then playing coverage behind him because if you're not accurate with your throws, that's also a way to get picks.
And that's another thing why it killed me today when you look at a lot of the players, why they feel like they could play one preseason game and be ready to go. Like you, I wanted to play all 4 preseason games because it had to because it got me ready to go for the regular season, and obviously we're seeing the effect that it's having on him right now. But this was just his first game coming into the season. Yeah.
So Hanford, flip it to the defensive side. Cleveland's won 8 of 9 against the Bengals, 4-0 versus Joe Burrow, a very, very good quarterback. How did the defensive backs keep that streak going? 5-0, Hanford.
Let me tell you something. Don't think Joe Burrow don't have that in the back of his mind right now. I guarantee you.
He got that in the back, the concussed middle, and the front.
He has that in the back of his mind right now. I'll tell you what, when you look at it, Joe Wood's going to have to come up with a hell of a scheme. I mean, he's going to have to come up with a hell of a scheme, a little bit of what we've done in the past against them and something new because obviously they're watching film just like we are. But it all starts up front with Myles Garrett, Clooney, and those guys. What they have to do is they have to put some pressure, get to Joe Burrow. But what you have to do with those 3 guys that we have, plus we have a 4th one in Greedy Williams that we could bring in, who I think also is a pretty good cover guy. You have to man those guys up front, and then you have to protect them over the back end. Let them know that they can be really, really aggressive in that 1 to 25-yard area, knowing that if they go deep, you got the possibility of a safety over top of you. And I think if we do that, I think we can probably help those guys out a little bit.
And on top of helping that, it absolutely helps the back end of the defense when the front end is getting pressure. And again, Joe Woods yesterday for the more times yesterday against Houston. Myles Garrett was in the middle of the pass rush at times, over the nose, over the center. You had Miles moving, you had Clowney moving around, so you're getting different looks on the front to kind of free up these guys on the weaker offensive linemen that the other team has.
And I have to give props to Miles. I mean, Miles is pretty much an old school guy because, today the way these guys are, if they hurt a little finger or something, they don't want to play or they're going to go to the bench. Miles is in there with a hurt shoulder, and he is kind of banging it out, man, just trying to give it everything that he has. So that's kind of old school right there. So I got to give props to him.
Old school dominant.
Yes.
Yeah, talking old school trash talk. I don't know if you saw Jamar Chase in that game against the Chiefs. Unsportsmanlike conduct. There's going to be some chirping back and forth in this game. Hanford, as a DB, how did you respond when you had trash talk from the wide receivers, and how do you think these kids are going to do?
You know what you need to do to Jamar Chase? You need to walk up to him and try to sneak, and without the officials, you can't get a penalty, but you need to hit him upside his head. Hit him upside his head and then talk. Get in his ear.
That's really old school coaching right there. Let me just walk up behind him and whop him upside the head. All right.
But you can't let the officials see you because you can't hurt your team with a 15-yard penalty. What you have to do is you have to talk I'm going to say shit.
Say it, man.
You got to talk shit to him. I mean, constantly, and let him know, not today, baby. Yeah. Not today. It's going to be a long day for Europe today.
Hey, there was way less cameras back when we were playing.
We didn't have all those cameras.
I'm not proud of saying this, but we really did have a rule. If you didn't get caught,
that's right.
You didn't get caught. If they didn't see it, it wasn't a penalty.
I mean, they give a penalty today for talking smack. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
All right, looking at this game, gut feeling, how do you think it's going to play out?
Oh, man. Oh, you want the truth?
Let's look at some bets first. We'll get to the truth.
Okay.
It's time for some big play bets.
Okay.
All right, sports gambling coming to Ohio. Be here before you know it. Download the app now to get ready. Receive $150 in free bets by clicking on the link, that typical link within the show clips that we put out throughout the week. We'll have custom bets for Bernie and Hanford. Bet along with the Bernie Kosar Show with Hanford Dixon, starting with that free $150. Download the Typico app. Make a deposit. Get ready for January 1st. We are almost to legalized betting in Ohio. Here we go. All right, let's look at our 1, 3, 5-star bets.
Okay.
Let's kick it off with the 1-star. We've got Dolphins minus 1.5 at the Chargers.
I got to tell you, yesterday, Tua came back to reality up in Frisco and stuff. But boy, the Chargers have been disappointing this year.
They have
really
been.
Disappointing and stuff. And it's almost, that you really kind of start separating yourself at this time of the year and stuff. And I think the Dolphins are for real, and I think the Chargers, as much as Justin Herbert is an amazing young quarterback, and I love him, I think the Dolphins are for real, and the Chargers are going the wrong way.
I think McDaniels and his crew, I agree with you. I think what they're going to do is they're going to get together, they're going to go over that film, they're going to look at what happened against San Francisco yesterday, and I think they're going to correct everything. I think they're a much better team than what they showed yesterday. I'm going to go with the Dolphins on this one.
San Francisco's a really good stopping the rush defense, and we know that San Diego.
What a shame by
LA Chargers.
What a shame by Jimmy G.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I mean, can you have any worse luck than this guy? I mean, I think he broke. Did he break his?
He broke his foot, I think.
Foot?
Yeah, he's out.
Oh, that's terrible.
All right, let's move on.
Their third quarterback, Purdy, came in.
He did.
From Iowa State. He really was impressive for a rookie quarterback that to throw with that sense of timing and have. He had.
Was he Mr. Irrelevant or something? Was he like the last draft pick or something?
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, Mr. Irrelevant. Was he the guy? Yes.
I'm not sure about.
I think he was the last draft pick. I want to say.
Well, his confidence and actually
played well.
His pocket presence,
played well.
His footwork in there was impressive. The way he was making throws.
He played extremely well.
All right, let's look at the 3-star. Ravens -4.5 at Steelers. Talking about injuries with Lamar Jackson.
You don't make this easy, do you? But
It's a tough one.
I have this one. I have it. They're playing in Pittsburgh, and the Ravens had trouble scoring yesterday. I think the game ended up 10-9 was the final score. I'm going to go with Steelers right now. I tell you, Pickett and company, they're kind of a little bit on a roll, and they're at home, so I'm going to have to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, I want to see, again, both teams lose.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really impressed.
It's like maybe a tie? Yeah, because
I'm really impressed with, again, Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
You know, for a team that was supposed to be dead and not winning games, to be pulling out games like this. I actually think this Lamar Jackson and the contract signing there's something's going on in Baltimore that's not nirvana or utopia right now. Him getting hurt a little bit, but like we picked, or I picked Baltimore to win, but I thought they were given too many points the other day. I actually think same with Pittsburgh this week.
Okay.
Kenny Pickett looking way better than I thought he was going to look.
He is.
He can throw it. All right, 5-star. Before we get into the 5-star, according to the Typical app, Bengals have a 68% probability of beating the Browns. Do you think that's accurate?
I don't think so.
Good.
I don't think so. I think the Browns right now, they got a jolt of energy with their new quarterback, even though he didn't play extremely well yesterday. But I think this team defensively have stepped it up a little bit. Obviously, special teams with the 76 yards. I think it was 76 yards.
76-yard punt return.
Return for a touchdown.
Boy,
was that a beautiful run.
Fantastic.
I mean, I didn't know he was that fast. I mean, he pulled away from everybody. So
we got our burner. So the 5-star bet is the Browns at Bengals over under 48 points.
Hey, so the optimistic homer in myself absolutely wants to, like I talked last week, I want to be galvanized by Deshaun coming back, galvanized it's December, 2-game winning streak, Battle of Ohio, getting our 3rd game and stuff. That part of me is where my mind is going to stay this week. But the reality of it, the factual side of the football side of it, the Bengals are a loaded team right now, and we need to really, from a Deshaun perspective, it's really probably unrealistic for us to expect perfection from him, but to hopefully in this one game get some of the kinks out so that he can make that big jump, because you're going to need a big offensive jump in this game on Sunday at 1 o'clock to play with the Bengals right now. Given the way their defense is so sound, the way their offense is so loaded, you can't really bank on the Bengals really struggling again for the 5th time in a row against us.
No, and I think offensively, I think we're going to get that joke. What you talked about with, I think Chubb is going to run the ball extremely well. I think Deshaun can't play. He can't play any worse than what he played yesterday. So I think he's going to play a lot better. I just think the Browns. I think our defense is going to step up to the plate. I think the Browns are going to take this one out. Now, 48 points is a lot of points, but I think I'm going to go with the over.
Yeah, so I'm always the big over guy,
Yeah.
and if I don't like the over, I say don't bet it. But this is a tough. This is a tough one, I think, to be an over, because I actually think that Deshaun's going to use his legs more. I believe we need to run the ball more, and I think if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals and I take something out of the last game, the last couple times we've played, we have not run the ball enough against the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So I think that they also need to run the ball more. So I think that could possibly slow the game down. And our defense has done a pretty good job of keeping people out of the end zone and stuff. So that may not be conducive to all those points.
Unless we run at them. Unless they run at us.
Run right at it. And that hasn't been their MO.
Right.
So they have to change their MO.
If they run at us, they get us,
Hey, speaking of our defense, we did have a little tune here for you, and special teams. We got to work this in somehow from our last game, but just had to sneak that in. Angry Ken sent that over for us today. The tune of the day.
I love it.
So we'll be looking for
Hey,
that.
thank
defense to
Angry
step up
Ken
again.
for sending that over and taking credit for it. But can we give a shout out to Ted Crow and how awesome he is at that? I really get off on his artistic expertise.
Good job,
did he
Ted.
give
Good job, brother.
Ted, good job.
Did he give you something today, Bernie, or was that something else?
Huh?
What's that?
We gotta get something in.
I want to get
a
Ted to
print
give me
of
another
those.
T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Come check us out for your holidays.
We'll have to get some actual prints of that. Yeah, shout out to Ted. Cool. Well, how about we move into our 2-minute warning, guys, and we can round out our thoughts and look ahead, do whatever you want. Stand by.
2-minute warning, and what I love about December, it doesn't really matter how you look, it doesn't matter what you say, it only matters what the result is. Somehow, some way, at 4 o'clock on Sunday, December 11th, I want to see a W from our Cleveland Browns.
What I'm going to jump off on, I'm going to say congratulations to Ted Ginn and Ted Ginn Sr. and his
Good stuff,
his
man.
football team. I tell you what, they won. This is the first time, isn't it?
Hey, for
Yeah.
Ted Ginn, for Glenville, to get
Yeah.
for all those years, for the first time,
Yeah.
for a Cleveland inner city school,
Yeah.
to be state champions and a dominant state champion, for not only for winning the state championship, what he does, what
Yeah.
he's done for decades
Yeah.
with the young men and young people in the community. God bless him.
Yeah, and if you listen to him talk about it, I mean, he became very emotional. I mean, he really did. So it meant a lot to him, but it meant a lot to those kids and the things that he do and for those kids and for that football team is just outstanding. So congratulations to you guys. You deserve it.
Yeah, Coach Ted. I was honored to when I got to meet him back in the late '80s and stuff. I went to speak over at Glenville, and I went in there and there's like maybe 1,300 kids there, and I go, Coach, I mean, I thought there's supposed to be a few thousand people here, and he goes, this young man came up to me and he goes, Bernie, or Mr. Kosar, I didn't know that people like you cared about people like us.
Wow.
And that really affected
Yeah.
me to see for
Yeah.
young kids at that
Yeah.
age to have that kind of feeling, that self-esteem issue, and to be able to come up and say that you're making a difference and you're be able to talk to us and show them a pathway to success. And Coach Ginn's been always there doing that. And I remember me and him actually donating the money to build the first weight room
Yeah.
at Glenville, and to see
Yeah.
30-some years later it come into a state championship like that, and all the young men that he's helped over the years. I mean, God bless for that. That shows you what's really important. And we talk about community at the core here in Ohio and stuff, and what we mean to each other. Ted Ginn is really part of the community. He is the community.
Well, Big Dog, we got to get ready for a big game this week. But again, as usual, great show.
Let's bring a W home. Let's bring a W home. You matter. Go Browns.